In today's video, we're going to be talking about topping your cannabis plants as opposed to letting the apical meristem grow in the one large cola. We're going to cover the benefits and drawbacks of both to hopefully help you make an informed decision for your growing situation. Hey, but before we do, today's video is brought to you by Real Grow Lab. If you want to connect with the best growers from all over the world, get tips and tricks on how to grow the dankest plants possible, and not have to worry about the censorship we get from YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Go check out realgrowlab.com. Get all kinds of great grow talk Q&A. Plus, see all the stuff YouTube won't let me show you in these videos. Sign up and join our growing community over at realgrowlab.com. Or download the app at the Apple or Android App Store. All right, I see. Come on, let's get into this.
Okay, so I know you are not a big fan of the giant cola. You're kind of a topper guy. You like to top your plants.
Yes, I like to control my plants, to shape my plants.
Okay, and so let's talk a little bit about the benefits of trimming that big main cola off and topping your plants.
Sure. The big main cola, you might hear a fancy word. They call it the apical meristem. It's just the top. The apex is what I think, apical. Mm-hmm. But that's going to get the lion's share of A, the light, and then B, the nutrients. That's got the highway from the roots is just pushing most of the hormones and most of the food right up there to grow that giant central cola.
Mm-hmm. But you cut that off.
I do. I've got a couple of reasons for it. I'm trying to distribute the plant's energy across the entire canopy if I can. Mm-hmm. If I just concentrate on growing one central cola, I kind of have A, all my eggs in that one basket, and then B, there's a couple of problems it brings up for growing specifically.
What are those?
The first one is height. The first one is just vertical height. If I have a 18 or 24 inch cola, man, that's great. But I have to keep my light, 8, 10 inches, 15 inches above that. So that means everything below that cola is getting, much less light. And I'm not supposed to get into the science, but it's really simple. Light dissipates very quickly. Mm-hmm. At at 1 foot, you got 100% of the light. At 2 foot, you have 25% of the light. And then at 3 foot distance from the canopy, you have 11% of the light that you had, originally. So keeping your lights up high and then far away from the rest of your canopy, that's a big no-no in my opinion. That's going to rob me a lot of yield on the rest of the canopy.
So having that main cola cut, taking the top off, gives you more evenly light distribution throughout the whole canopy.
Light and distribution and hormone distribution too. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about flowering sites, because what I have seen is usually if you're going to grow the main cola way, you've got one flowering site.
And by the way, one big flowering site, ask my buddy, the dude, very easy to get bud mold in there. When you have a giant bud, just microclimates going on there, that whole thing is loaded with moisture. It is a lot easier to have problems, whether it's bud mold or whatever in that giant bud than it is if you have a bunch of, say, golf balls or fist-sized buds all around the grow. You're all around the plant. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So evenly distributed light, evenly distributed hormones,
right,
and then evenly distributed budding sites.
Flowering sites, yeah. And that's why I'll use the bamboo stakes, or you'll use a scrog, and that's the exact idea. You really, you can exemplify this with the scrog, the screen of green, the netting. There's a reason why they lay that netting flat, and then they weave all the flowering sites through it. They're trying to get a complete canopy, complete coverage. So every bit of that light, all those light drops that are raining down, don't have to travel 4 or 5 feet and get to 11% intensity. They can hit it at 75% intensity, or, close to that.
Okay, so let's talk about the drawbacks of topping. The first one that comes to my mind is I'm hacking up my plant.
Yeah, extended veg. Anytime you chop your plants, you got longer veg because you need, 8-10 days for them to recover. Mm-hmm. I don't like to chop plants in flowering. 8-10, week and a half, 2 weeks before I go in the flowering would be the last time that I would really want to chop it, that I would want to cut it and shape it.
Okay, so you got to worry about plant recovery time, probably some stress on those plants.
Yeah, it'll take a little bit for them to recover. Although stress isn't always bad for plants.
Coming up in a future video.
But I tell you what recovery time is, because you're going to need a longer veg. You know, this is really what this comes down to, is how long do I want to veg my plants for? Do I want to veg my plants for this, a big screen of green that I'm going to have to cut it a couple times and train it and really work at it? Or I do just want to take a plant in a 3-gallon container, clone it, grow it in a solo cup for 2 weeks, plant it in a 3-gallon, veg it for 2 weeks, and then flower it. Well, it's a lot easier.
That brings us to the next kind of drawback, is extra maintenance. Instead of just letting the plant do what it wants to do, I'm in my tent, I'm staking stuff up, I'm putting a scrog net, I'm pruning. So there's a lot more work to this.
There's a lot more work. But when I would take all this effort to really shape a plant, would be when I'd be worrying about plant count. I only grow 9 plants in my flower room, so I take the time. And stake them up and low stress train them and really clean them up. So I'm getting 8 or 9 or 10 nice flowering sites, nice tops around that canopy. Boy, if plant count didn't matter, I could just take a bunch of 2 or 3 gallon containers, shove them to where they're actually touching each other, cut almost everything off except that giant central cola, and just grow some colas. I could certainly do that, and I'd have good success.
So that kind of brings us to the pros of not topping, just letting that main cola grow. And that's where I've seen it the most at, is in commercial grows.
Sure.
Where they have 1,000 plants, or they have 100 plants, and they've got them right next to each other, and they're all growing really tall.
Because what's their cachet, or what are they going for? I want people to say that my plants look great on the internet, and then when I smoke them with them, I want them to be like, how beautiful, wow, you yielded a bunch, or just actually yield doesn't even matter anymore. It's, wow, look at that quality. That's not what it's like for dispensaries. There's a guy sharpening his pencil going, why aren't we making more money? Or why aren't we making any money? And that's what you get, where you say, hey, look, we can shave, instead of doing a 30-day veg or a 40-day veg, we can do a 14-day veg. And instead of waiting for the plants to get really big so we can flower them up, we're just going to flower more smaller plants up. If I'm the guy writing the checks there, that's something that I would scratch my head on. And for the most, what they've figured out, what these commercial growers have figured out, is you can make more money. You can produce more grams every month by just growing tops, by eliminating veg, just growing more smaller plants, and that's where that Dutch table method comes in. But just throw more plants, less veg is the way where I think you would get overall most gross grams per month or per year. And you can fit more plants per square foot, because the way you do it, they kind of grow out wide. Sure. The way I've seen a lot of the commercial growers that use this method, it's just a bunch of plants shoulder to shoulder growing straight up. Which one would you rather, if we're going to anthropomorphize, if we're going to humanize this, where would you rather be? I would rather be spread out and have some room. Yeah, exactly, man. So I think that's a lot better. And not that I think. These plants, they breathe. So they have to have wind or some kind of air blowing over them, CO2, the right temperature. We talk about microclimates all the time. When there's a leaf laying on another leaf, or one bud is up against the other one, what's going on there isn't what's going on in your thermostat. What's going on there is a microclimate that's probably perfect for mildew or perfect for bugs to come make a home in. So that kind of stuff is a big deal. So your plant density is a big deal. So I'm not for this Dutch table method that you'll start seeing around, or that we've seen around. Okay, so there's that, and then what I'm thinking about is what we started the show off with, is light. If my lights are only hitting the top of maybe like a foot-long cola, that's getting different energy and maybe different trichome production. Sure. And then maybe even the risk of burning the tops if they're too close to the light and I'm still trying to get light for the rest of the canopy. Absolutely, man. If you're at 1,000 ppfd, 1 foot away, what are you at? I'm going to do the math. Ready? You're at 250 ppfd, 2 feet away, and what would it be? 110 ppfd. You know, that's a huge difference. So if you're just growing one big giant 18 or however big cola, you are lighting a lot of air where your plants are not. You're losing a lot of those raindrops. They're losing their intensity as they're traveling through the air. Kind of a big deal, man.
And I would think, while it might be good for a commercial grower because they're getting that bulk mass, if I'm really going for quality, I probably want that even distribution that topping gives you.
Yeah, I like that idea, but man, if you have a bunch of 12 or 15-inch buds and you have a uniform canopy and they're just on a table, whether they're in 2-gallon containers or Rockwell Hugo blocks, you can get a great amount of intensity there. You can have your light 15 inches above that canopy and get great quality. So it really does depend on the operator, on the grower, how they're shaping these plants. And that's a big deal. Shaping the plants, it makes a huge difference in yield and quality. So my final thoughts on it are that if you can handle managing that many colas, if you're going in a production system that you have, a commercial production system where you're going to be doing it every day, you can get away with packing plants really close together, eliminating the veg, getting really high quality colas and almost all tops by just bringing the light down 15 or 24 inches above canopy, whatever your light recommends. You can do really well that way. If I'm trying to grow what I'm doing, I have a 6x12 room. I don't want to be, running a table with 80 or 90 plants, or I think I would need about 60 plants in there. Nah, I'd rather have 8 or 9 plants. I can move them. I can shape them. Yeah, if I was using a trellis net, I could weave them into the net. It's just a lot. And by the way, the airflow. I get CO2 and fresh air movement. So when I'm talking about bud rot, when I'm talking about powdery mildew, we want good airflow. So I'm much more comfortable just as a hobbyist grower growing 9 plants in a what do I have, a 6x12. It's just a lot easier and more natural for me. But I'm not saying that I really, I'm going to say that you would yield more overall per year if you're doing just the short veg, the 14-day veg, and just growing a bunch of tops. Not the way I grow, though. Hey, but that is just my style. I like to grow these big bushes, but I want to know what you do. Let me know in the comments. Do you grow one giant central cola? Do you grow huge trees? Come on, let me know. And if you like this video, please do press that like button, hit that subscribe button, and check out the other couple videos YouTube's recommending. I hope you will dig them.